President Biden's son Hunter was poised to resolve his legal woes.
But there might be another whole chapter on this saga after a judge pulled a rare move.
Madeline Rivera has the latest from Washington.
It was a 3-hour drama-filled court appearance Wednesday for the president's son, and it ended unexpectedly. It was supposed to be an open and shut case when Hunter Biden showed up to a federal hearing Wednesday to resolve tax and gun charges. But a plea deal that Hunter's lawyers brokered with the prosecution was rejected by a judge. And without a deal, Hunter had to plead not guilty to charges he was going to admit to.
Very telling that the judge intervened here and said basically, no, I'm not going to approve some sweeping blanket deal.
Judge Mary Ellen Noriega questioned the scope of the plea deal and was worried it would preclude further prosecutions against the president's son.
How could they not have reached an agreement on whether or not he could be prosecuted on other charges? The fact that there was just not a meeting of the minds, that there was some massive communication breakdown between the two sides.
The lead prosecutor on the case confirmed investigations are still ongoing.
The president, the first lady, they love their son and they support him as he continues to rebuild his life.
Republicans are celebrating because they said the original plea deal let Hunter Biden off too easy, especially after 2 IRS whistleblowers testified that the Department of Justice interfered in the probe and gave the president's son preferential treatment.
Hunter Biden, if you are watching this right now, you are not above the law, and justice is coming for you today.
Hunter Biden had no family with him in the courtroom Wednesday. He did have one friend with him who helped him pay off those overdue taxes. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox 32 Chicago.
And now for some clarification on what happened in court today. We want to bring in Stephen Caliendo, professor of political science at North Central College.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Professor. Let's get right into this. To Madeline Rivera's point, this was ostensibly a routine court appearance. Hunter Biden set to plead guilty. Right now, everything's at a standstill. What happened?
What a wild ride we had today, that's for sure. This should have been maybe 30, 45 minutes at the most. But the judge, a plea deal has to be approved by the judge. And so just because both sides came to what they thought was an agreement didn't mean it was going to go through. When the judge started asking specific questions, I think both sides at that point came to understand that they didn't have a good understanding. That is that they had different interpretations of what this deal was going to mean. And so the judge did her job in sussing that out, and that really is going to save a lot of problems down the road. It could have saved a lot of problems down the road if there was a misunderstanding.
Okay, so just yesterday, House Republicans filed a brief asking that judge to throw out the plea deal after hearing testimony from an IRS whistleblower who said that Hunter received preferential treatment. So do you think the judge was pressured by that brief?
Look, I don't know if it was that brief. Certainly, there's just a lot of media attention surrounding this particular case. It's an odd case in a lot of ways. It's an odd case because the president's son's involved. It's also an odd case because typically when people pay their taxes late, they don't face significant charges to them. But this is complicated in a number of ways. So I'm sure she had a lot on her mind. But I don't think it was the question of interference that led to this rejection of the deal. It was when she asked the questions, both sides came to understand that they had different interpretations of what was happening. With that, she had a responsibility then to say, I got to put a kibosh on this. And so they took a break. The two sides talked some more. They came up to something else. She still wasn't satisfied that it was clear enough. And so she gave them each 30 days to come back so that she can make another decision.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 30 days because I was a little confused by Hunter Biden's decision to change his plea. I was under the assumption this was going to be just a delay, but now he's pled not guilty. What does that mean for the case going forward?
Well, it doesn't mean anything. He can change his plea to guilty later on if there's a deal that's reached, but he certainly wasn't going to plead guilty today without a deal in place, right? You have to say not guilty and then imagine that you're moving forward as if there's going to be a trial. I don't know whether there'll be a trial or not. I don't think anybody knows that at this point. They're going to try to reach another deal, but certainly we couldn't expect Hunter Biden to plead guilty if he didn't know what the terms of that plea would be.
And we got to bring this point up as well. Both the judge and the prosecutor in this case are Trump appointees. From what you've seen, have they acted partisan in any way?
No, they haven't. From what I've seen, I think that, again, I can imagine people on the left being frustrated by this because it felt like it was a done deal. But the judge didn't come in with guns blazing. She was asking questions for clarity, and they were good questions, and it became clear very, very quickly within the first few minutes that this wasn't going the way either side thought it was going to go.
Unfortunately, we got to end it there. I really wanted to ask you about Trump and the so-called trial of the century, but we're out of time. Stephen Caliendo, always a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
It was good to see you both. I'll be back if you need me.
All right, thanks.